As we cross the age of 60, one of the most underestimated health challenges we face is muscle loss, a condition known as sarcopenia. It creeps in slowly, often unnoticed, until simple activities like climbing stairs or carrying groceries become harder than they used to be. The truth is, muscle health isn't just about strength or appearance, it's about maintaining independence, mobility, and longevity. But here's the good news. Science is clear. Diet plays a pivotal role in reversing muscle loss. Specifically, protein becomes a critical nutrient as we age. Yet many people assume that eating more protein means expensive supplements or complicated diets. That's simply not true. Today we're diving into 7 affordable protein-rich foods that are backed by research, easy to find, and highly effective for rebuilding muscle mass after 60. This isn't about fads or quick fixes. It's about using evidence-based nutrition to help your body stay strong, functional, and youthful for years to come. Aging, at its core, is a story of gradual decline at the cellular and molecular levels. After the age of 60, this decline begins to affect our muscles in a way that is often invisible at first, but profoundly impactful over time. Scientists call this process sarcopenia, a progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength associated with aging. For decades, sarcopenia was thought to be an inevitable part of growing older, something we simply had to accept. But modern research has revealed a far more hopeful picture. While aging sets the stage, lifestyle factors, especially nutrition and physical activity, decide how fast or how severely muscle loss unfolds. The biology behind muscle loss is both fascinating and sobering. As we age, our bodies develop something known as anabolic resistance. In simple terms, this means that the same amount of protein, or the same workout that once helped us build muscle in our 30s and 40s, becomes far less effective after 60. Muscle cells lose some of their ability to respond to the signals that normally tell them to grow and repair. Proteins like mTOR, which regulate muscle protein synthesis, don't switch on as readily. Satellite cells, those tiny muscle stem cells responsible for repair, become sluggish and fewer in number. Hormones like testosterone and growth hormone also decline, reducing the body's natural muscle-building signals. The result? Each year after 60, the average person loses about 1–2% of muscle mass and even more of their muscle strength. That might not sound like much on paper, but over a decade, it's the difference between living independently and struggling to get out of a chair. Muscle isn't just about strength or athletic performance, it's a reservoir of health. It regulates blood sugar, protects against insulin resistance, supports bone density, and even influences brain function. A loss of muscle doesn't just weaken the body, it accelerates the aging process across multiple systems. What makes this particularly urgent is the connection between muscle loss and metabolic health. Skeletal muscle is the body's largest site for glucose disposal. When muscle mass shrinks, the body becomes less efficient at handling blood sugar, leading to higher risks of type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. In fact, studies show that people with low muscle mass have significantly higher rates of hospitalizations, falls, and mortality. Sarcopenia, therefore, is not merely about frailty, it is about the very foundation of healthy aging and longevity. Another key factor contributing to muscle loss is mitochondrial decline. Mitochondria, the energy powerhouses of our cells, become less efficient with age. As they falter, energy production dwindles, leading to fatigue and reduced capacity for physical activity. Since physical activity itself is one of the strongest signals for muscle preservation, this sets up a vicious cycle. Weaker muscles lead to less movement, which accelerates muscle loss even further. Researchers have found that aged muscles accumulate dysfunctional mitochondria and fewer new ones are formed, a double blow that makes it harder to sustain strength and endurance. Chronic, low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, also plays a role. As we age, levels of inflammatory molecules like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6 rise subtly but persistently in the bloodstream. These molecules interfere with muscle protein synthesis and increase protein breakdown. It's as if the body is caught in a slow, smoldering fire that erodes muscle tissue over the years. This inflammatory environment, combined with hormonal decline and reduced physical activity, creates the perfect storm for sarcopenia to thrive. Yet, despite all these biological challenges, the story is far from hopeless. One of the most exciting findings in recent decades is that muscle remains highly adaptable, even late in life. People in their 70s, 80s, and beyond can still build significant muscle mass and strength with the right interventions. Studies have shown that older adults who consume sufficient protein and engage in resistance training can reverse decades of muscle loss within months. In some trials, men and women in their 80s doubled their strength in just 12 weeks of progressive resistance exercise combined with adequate protein intake. This tells us that age might set the conditions, but it does not dictate the outcome. Nutrition is particularly critical here because anabolic resistance means older adults need more protein per meal to trigger the same muscle-building response younger people get with less. Research suggests that while a young adult might only need 20 grams of high-quality protein to maximize muscle protein synthesis after a meal, someone over 60 might need closer to 30-40 grams. This is where the choice of protein foods becomes vital. Not all proteins are created equal. Some, like animal proteins and certain plant-based sources rich in leucine, are especially effective at activating the mTOR pathway and stimulating muscle growth. Moreover, the timing and distribution of protein across meals matter more than most people realize. Many older adults eat a protein-light breakfast, a modest lunch, and then load up on protein at dinner. But studies show that spreading protein evenly throughout the day, so that each meal delivers enough to cross the anabolic threshold, is far more effective for preserving muscle mass. Finally, we can't ignore the synergy between diet and exercise. While protein provides the raw materials for muscle repair, resistance training supplies the signal telling the body to use those materials to build new muscle. Without that signal, extra protein alone won't be as effective. This is why any discussion of muscle health after 60 must integrate both nutrition and physical activity into a single coherent strategy for healthy aging. What becomes clear from all this science is that sarcopenia is not simply about getting older, it's about biology responding to inputs. And by changing those inputs through better nutrition, targeted protein intake, resistance training, and lifestyle interventions, we can slow, stop, and even reverse much of the muscle loss once thought inevitable with age. When we talk about living longer, healthier lives, the conversation often drifts toward genes, supplements, or cutting-edge therapies, but one of the most powerful levers for longevity is surprisingly simple and sits on our plate every day: protein. For adults over 60, protein is not just a macronutrient, it's a lifeline for maintaining independence, strength, and quality of life. As the body ages, it becomes less efficient at turning the food we eat into the muscle tissue that keeps us moving, stable, and resilient. This inefficiency, known as anabolic resistance, makes protein intake absolutely critical for older adults, aiming to preserve not only muscle mass but also metabolic health and overall vitality. Muscle tissue is often thought of only in mechanical terms, lifting, walking, or performing physical tasks, but biologically it is far more than that. Muscle acts as a metabolic powerhouse. It is the primary site for glucose uptake and storage, helping regulate blood sugar and prevent the spikes that contribute to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. When muscle mass declines, the body loses this critical glucose buffer and metabolic disorders become more common. That is one reason why low muscle mass in older adults is linked to higher risks of cardiovascular disease, obesity, and even cognitive decline. In this sense, maintaining muscle through adequate protein intake isn't just about strength, it's about protecting the entire body from the downstream effects of metabolic dysfunction. Protein itself plays multiple roles beyond muscle synthesis. The amino acids derived from dietary protein serve as building blocks not only for muscle fibers, but also for enzymes, hormones, and immune cells. For example, glutamine supports immune function, while tryptophan influences serotonin production, affecting mood and sleep. Leucine, one of the branch-chain amino acids, is particularly critical because it directly triggers the mTOR pathway, the cellular switch that stimulates muscle protein synthesis. Without enough leucine, the muscle-building machinery simply doesn't turn on effectively, no matter how much total protein is consumed. This is why high-quality protein sources, those rich in leucine and other essential amino acids, are so important for older adults seeking to maintain or regain muscle mass. Another often overlooked benefit of adequate protein is its role in bone health. Many people associate bone strength primarily with calcium and vitamin D, but protein provides the structural matrix around which bone mineralization occurs. Studies have shown that older adults with higher protein intake have greater bone density and lower fracture risk, especially when protein is combined with resistance exercise. Considering that falls and fractures are leading causes of disability in older populations, this connection between protein, muscle, and bone health cannot be overstated. Research also reveals that adequate protein intake supports weight management in older adults. Aging often brings a gradual loss of muscle and a gain in fat mass, particularly visceral fat around the organs, which is metabolically harmful. Because protein is highly satiating and has a higher thermic effect than fats or carbohydrates, meaning it requires more energy to digest and metabolize, it helps control appetite and supports a healthier body composition. In practical terms, older adults who eat enough protein are less likely to experience the simultaneous muscle loss and fat gain that accelerates aging and chronic disease risk. The stakes become even clearer when we consider studies on mortality and longevity. Research from large-scale cohorts shows that older adults with higher protein intake, especially plant and fish-based proteins, tend to live longer and remain healthier as they age. One study published in the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association found that older adults consuming at least 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day had significantly lower risks of frailty and premature death compared to those consuming less. These findings challenge the outdated dietary guidelines that still suggest 0.8 grams per kilogram as sufficient for older adults, a number now seen as the bare minimum for survival, not for thriving. But quantity alone isn't enough. Timing and distribution matter too. Many older adults consume most of their protein at dinner, leaving breakfast and lunch relatively protein poor. Studies consistently show that spreading protein intake evenly across meals maximizes muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. For example, consuming 30-40 grams of high-quality protein at each meal stimulates muscle building far more effectively than loading 80 grams into one evening meal. This even distribution helps overcome anabolic resistance, ensuring the body receives repeated signals to repair and build muscle rather than storing excess amino acids for energy. There's also growing interest in protein synergy with exercise. Resistance training alone stimulates muscle protein synthesis, but when paired with adequate dietary protein, the effect is amplified. Exercise increases muscle sensitivity to amino acids, effectively lowering the threshold of protein needed to trigger muscle growth. This means a session of strength training followed by a protein-rich meal creates a powerful signal for muscle repair and hypertrophy, even in people well into their 70s or 80s. Critically, the fear that higher protein intake might harm kidney function in healthy older adults has largely been debunked. Decades of research show that protein only becomes problematic in individuals with pre-existing severe kidney disease. For healthy aging populations, higher protein intake is not only safe but essential for maintaining muscle mass, metabolic health, and independence. In the bigger picture, protein intake after 60 becomes a central pillar of healthy longevity. It interacts with exercise, metabolic regulation, bone health, immune resilience, and even cognitive function. It helps prevent the cascade of decline, where muscle loss leads to weakness, weakness leads to falls, falls lead to hospitalization, and hospitalization accelerates further muscle loss, a downward spiral no one wants to face. By prioritizing adequate, high-quality protein distributed evenly throughout the day, combined with resistance exercise, older adults can maintain the strength and vitality that keep them independent, energetic, and engaged with life. It's a simple yet powerful intervention, grounded in decades of research, that offers one of the clearest paths to aging, not just longer, but better. When people hear about protein for muscle health after 60, many assume it means expensive supplements, exotic powders, or pricey cuts of meat. But the truth is, some of the most powerful muscle-preserving foods are also the most affordable and accessible. You don't need to break the bank to give your body what it needs to rebuild strength and vitality. Science consistently shows that high-quality protein can come from simple, inexpensive foods found in any grocery store, foods that deliver not only the amino acids your muscles need, but also vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds that support overall health and longevity. The first on the list is eggs, one of the most nutrient-dense and cost-effective protein sources available. A single large egg provides about 6 grams of high-quality protein with all 9 essential amino acids, particularly leucine, the key trigger for muscle protein synthesis. But eggs bring more to the table than protein. The yolk is rich in vitamin D, choline, and healthy fats that support brain health and hormone production, 2 areas that often decline with age. Despite outdated concerns about cholesterol, research now shows that moderate egg consumption has no negative impact on heart health for most people and may even improve levels of beneficial HDL cholesterol. For older adults seeking affordable, high-quality protein, few foods match the efficiency and versatility of eggs. Next are lentils and other legumes like beans and chickpeas, often overlooked in the protein conversation because they're plant-based. Lentils deliver about 18 grams of protein per cooked cup along with fiber, iron, and folate. Their low cost and long shelf life make them a practical choice for anyone on a budget. While legumes lack some essential amino acids in isolation, combining them with grains like rice creates a complete protein profile. Beyond muscle health, the soluble fiber in legumes helps regulate blood sugar, lower cholesterol, and feed beneficial gut bacteria, an important factor for immune health and inflammation control as we age. Greek yogurt earns its place on this list for its impressive protein-to-cost ratio and gut health benefits. A single cup can provide 15-20 grams of protein along with probiotics that support digestion and immunity. Older adults often experience declining stomach acid and changes in gut microbiota that impair nutrient absorption, so incorporating probiotic-rich foods like Greek yogurt can help counter these effects. Choosing plain, unsweetened varieties avoids the excess sugar found in many commercial yogurts while delivering calcium and vitamin B12 for bone and nerve health. For those who prefer dairy alternatives, fortified soy yogurt offers similar protein content and nutritional benefits. Another standout is canned tuna or salmon. Both are budget-friendly, shelf-stable, and packed with protein, around 20-25 grams per 3-ounce serving. They also provide omega-3 fatty acids like EPA and DHA, which support cardiovascular health, reduce inflammation, and may even help preserve muscle mass in older adults by improving anabolic sensitivity. While fresh fish can be expensive, canned varieties deliver nearly identical nutritional value at a fraction of the cost, making them a practical protein source for seniors focused on muscle and metabolic health. For those looking for convenience, cottage cheese remains one of the best-kept secrets in affordable nutrition. It delivers about 14 grams of protein per half-cup serving. Much of it is casein, a slow-digesting protein that provides a steady release of amino acids over several hours. This makes cottage cheese especially useful before bedtime, as it supports overnight muscle repair and growth. It also supplies calcium and phosphorus for bone health, both of which become increasingly important with age as osteoporosis risk rises. Plant-based eaters will appreciate tofu, a soy-based protein offering around 10 grams per half-cup serving at a very low cost, like legumes. Tofu provides additional benefits beyond protein, including isoflavones, plant compounds shown to support cardiovascular health and potentially improve bone density in older adults. Tofu's versatility allows it to absorb flavors from various cuisines, making it easy to include in stir-fries, soups, or salads. For muscle health, its complete amino acid profile rivals that of animal proteins, proving that affordability and plant-based eating can go hand in hand. Finally, peanut butter and other nut butters deserve mention, though with some nuance. At about 7-8 grams of protein per 2 tablespoons serving, peanut butter isn't as protein-dense as meats or dairy, but it offers healthy, monounsaturated fats, magnesium, and vitamin E, nutrients linked to heart health and reduced inflammation. Its caloric density makes it ideal for older adults struggling with reduced appetite or unintentional weight loss, a common issue after 60. Pairing nut butters with whole grain bread or adding them to smoothies boosts total protein intake while delivering sustained energy and flavor variety. What ties all these foods together is their affordability, accessibility, and nutrient density. Many older adults face fixed incomes, reduced mobility, or limited access to fresh groceries, so recommendations must be practical as well as scientifically sound. These 7 foods meet that standard. They deliver high-quality protein to overcome anabolic resistance, essential vitamins and minerals to support overall health, and versatility to fit into different cultural cuisines and personal preferences. It's also important to highlight that variety matters. No single protein source provides all the benefits needed for healthy aging. By rotating between eggs, dairy, legumes, fish, plant proteins, and nut butters, older adults ensure a broader spectrum of amino acids, micronutrients, and health-promoting compounds. This diversity also keeps meals enjoyable, increasing the likelihood of sustaining these habits over the long term. Critically, research shows that when older adults consistently consume 25-40 grams of protein at each meal, using affordable sources like these, muscle protein synthesis improves significantly, even in the presence of anabolic resistance. When combined with resistance exercise, the effects multiply, preserving not only muscle mass but also independence, metabolic health, and quality of life well into advanced age. In the end, building muscle after 60 does not require expensive solutions. It requires consistent, strategic choices using simple, science-backed foods that anyone can afford. These 7 protein sources prove that longevity nutrition can be both practical and powerful, helping older adults stay stronger, healthier, and more resilient as the years go by. One of the most overlooked aspects of nutrition in older adults is not just how much protein they eat, but how well their bodies actually absorb and use it. After 60, the body undergoes subtle yet significant changes in digestion, hormone levels, muscle physiology, and metabolism. These changes make it harder to convert the protein on your plate into the muscle tissue that keeps you strong, mobile, and independent. Scientists call this phenomenon anabolic resistance, a reduced ability of aging muscles to respond to normal amounts of protein and exercise. It means that eating the same meals you had in your 40s no longer produces the same results. Without strategic adjustments, muscle mass and strength decline faster than most people realize. The good news is that research has uncovered several practical ways to overcome anabolic resistance and maximize the muscle-building potential of dietary protein. The first strategy is timing and distribution. Many older adults eat very little protein at breakfast, slightly more at lunch, and then load up on protein-heavy dinners. This uneven distribution fails to optimize muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. Studies show that spreading protein intake evenly across meals, roughly 25-40 grams at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, creates multiple opportunities to trigger muscle-building signals rather than just one. Each protein-rich meal acts like a pulse, activating the mTOR pathway in muscle cells and stimulating repair and growth. Consider the typical breakfast of toast, fruit, or cereal. While healthy in some respects, it often lacks sufficient protein to cross the anabolic threshold. Replacing or supplementing it with options like Greek yogurt, eggs, or protein-rich smoothies can transform breakfast into a powerful muscle-preserving meal. Similarly, lunches often center around salads or sandwiches light on protein. Adding beans, tuna, or cottage cheese elevates their muscle-building impact. By evening, instead of consuming an overwhelming amount of protein in one sitting, a moderate but consistent intake ensures the body receives a steady stream of amino acids across the day. Another critical factor is the quality and type of protein consumed. Not all proteins are created equal when it comes to stimulating muscle growth. Proteins rich in essential amino acids, particularly leucine, are most effective at turning on the molecular machinery for muscle synthesis. Leucine acts like a key fitting into a lock, activating the mTOR pathway that signals muscle cells to grow and repair. Foods like eggs, dairy products, lean meats, and soy are especially rich in leucine, making them ideal for older adults facing anabolic resistance. Emerging research also highlights the value of combining plant and animal proteins to maximize amino acid diversity. While animal proteins are generally complete, containing all 9 essential amino acids, plant proteins often lack one or more. However, by combining legumes with grains or pairing tofu with quinoa, older adults can achieve the same completeness while gaining the additional benefits of fiber, phytonutrients, and lower saturated fat. This balance supports not only muscle health but also cardiovascular and metabolic well-being. The role of micronutrients and cofactors in protein absorption should not be ignored either. Vitamin D, for example, plays a critical role in muscle function, and deficiencies are common among older adults due to reduced sun exposure and changes in skin synthesis. Low vitamin D levels have been linked to muscle weakness, impaired protein utilization, and increased fall risk. Similarly, omega-3 fatty acids found in fish like salmon or in flax seeds appear to enhance muscle protein synthesis when combined with resistance training and adequate protein intake. These nutrients create a more favorable metabolic environment for building and preserving muscle. Digestive health also influences how well the body absorbs and utilizes protein. Aging often brings reduced stomach acid production, changes in gut microbiota, and slower digestive transit times, all of which can impair protein breakdown and amino acid availability. Incorporating probiotic-rich foods like yogurt, kefir, and fermented vegetables can help restore gut balance, improving nutrient absorption and overall metabolic health. For individuals with significant digestive challenges, easily digestible protein sources like whey protein or hydrolyzed collagen may offer additional benefits, though whole foods remain the foundation of a healthy diet. Beyond diet alone, exercise synergizes with protein intake in powerful ways. Resistance training acts as a primer, increasing muscle sensitivity to amino acids and amplifying the anabolic response to protein consumption. This means that the same protein meal eaten after strength training produces a far greater muscle-building effect than when eaten without exercise. Even low-impact activities like resistance band workouts, bodyweight exercises, or lightweight lifting performed 2 to 3 times per week dramatically improve how efficiently the body uses dietary protein. Exercise literally opens the door for amino acids to enter muscle cells and be used for repair and growth. Timing protein intake around exercise may further enhance results. Consuming a protein-rich meal within 2 hours after training appears to optimize muscle protein synthesis, taking advantage of the so-called anabolic window when muscles are most responsive. Evening exercises may particularly benefit from a slow-digesting protein like casein found in cottage cheese or Greek yogurt before bedtime, as it provides a steady release of amino acids overnight, supporting continuous muscle repair. Another layer of complexity comes from the interaction between energy intake and protein utilization. Severe calorie restriction, while sometimes beneficial for weight loss or metabolic health, can accelerate muscle loss if protein intake and resistance exercise are not carefully managed. For older adults, the goal is often to maintain or even slightly increase lean body mass while minimizing fat gain. Adequate calories, especially from nutrient-dense whole foods, ensure that protein is used for muscle synthesis rather than simply being burned for energy needs. Hydration, too, plays a subtle but important role. Dehydration, more common in older adults due to reduced thirst sensation, can impair digestion, circulation, and nutrient transport. Ensuring adequate fluid intake supports not only general health but also the metabolic processes required for muscle maintenance and growth. Finally, consistency matters more than perfection. Occasional high-protein meals scattered between low-protein days will not overcome anabolic resistance. What counts is the regular daily pattern of protein intake, exercise, and supportive nutrients that together create the conditions for muscle preservation and strength. Over weeks and months, these small, consistent choices compound into measurable improvements in muscle mass, metabolic health, and physical independence. By addressing timing, quality, digestion, exercise synergy, and supportive nutrients, older adults can dramatically improve how their bodies absorb and use protein. These strategies transform protein from a simple dietary component into a targeted tool for maintaining strength, resilience, and longevity well beyond 60. When it comes to preserving muscle and strength after 60, the science is clear. Adequate protein, regular resistance training, and smart lifestyle choices form the foundation. But knowing the science is only the first step. The real challenge lies in translating that knowledge into daily habits that are simple, affordable, and sustainable over the long term. It's one thing to read about muscle protein synthesis, anabolic resistance, and nutrient timing. It's another to build routines that seamlessly fit into real life. The goal is not a short burst of effort, but a consistent pattern of behavior that protects muscle, mobility, and independence for decades to come. One of the most practical strategies is to start by planning protein-rich meals ahead of time. Older adults often fall into eating patterns driven by convenience or habit, leading to meals heavy on carbohydrates and fats, but light on protein. By intentionally building each meal around a protein source, eggs at breakfast, Greek yogurt or tuna at lunch, beans or lean meats at dinner, you ensure the body receives what it needs to preserve muscle mass. Spreading protein intake evenly across the day, rather than loading it all at dinner, keeps muscle-building signals active from morning to night. This approach aligns with research showing that multiple smaller doses of protein stimulate muscle synthesis more effectively than one large dose at the end of the day. For those on fixed incomes, affordability often becomes a concern. That's why focusing on cost-effective, high-quality proteins like lentils, canned fish, eggs, cottage cheese, and tofu is essential. Buying in bulk, cooking larger portions for multiple meals, and relying on frozen or shelf-stable options reduce both cost and food waste. Many of these foods, such as beans and lentils, are not only inexpensive but also provide additional health benefits like fiber, minerals, and phytonutrients that support cardiovascular and metabolic health. Integrating resistance training into weekly routines multiplies the benefits of adequate protein intake. The human body is remarkably responsive to physical stimuli even well into advanced age. Studies consistently show that older adults who perform resistance exercises, whether with free weights, resistance bands, or body weight, can reverse decades of muscle loss in a matter of months. Just 2 to 3 30-minute sessions per week targeting major muscle groups significantly improve muscle mass, strength, balance, and even insulin sensitivity. Importantly, the exercises need not be complex or intimidating. Simple movements like squats, wall push-ups, seated leg extensions, and resistance band rows provide substantial benefits without requiring gym memberships or expensive equipment. The synergy between exercise and protein cannot be overstated. Resistance training primes muscle cells to respond more efficiently to dietary protein by increasing amino acid uptake and stimulating anabolic pathways. In practical terms, this means that the same protein-rich meal has a far greater muscle-building impact when consumed after exercise compared to when eaten on a sedentary day. Older adults who pair resistance training with adequate protein intake experience faster recovery, greater strength gains, and better preservation of lean body mass over time. Beyond exercise and diet, lifestyle factors like sleep, stress management, and overall activity levels influence muscle health in ways many people overlook. Sleep, for instance, is when much of the body's repair and growth occur. Chronic sleep deprivation raises cortisol levels, increases inflammation, and impairs recovery from exercise, all of which accelerate muscle loss. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night creates the hormonal environment needed for muscle preservation and overall longevity. Similarly, staying physically active throughout the day complements structured exercise sessions. Long periods of sitting, common among retirees or those with reduced mobility, contribute to muscle atrophy, insulin resistance, and cardiovascular decline. Simple habits, like walking after meals, standing up every hour, doing light household chores, or gardening, maintain circulation, joint mobility, and metabolic health, while adding small but meaningful layers of physical activity to daily life. Nutrient timing can also be optimized for convenience and effectiveness. Consuming a protein-rich snack in the evening, such as cottage cheese or a small protein smoothie, provides a slow release of amino acids overnight when the body undergoes repair processes. This is particularly beneficial after an evening resistance workout, supporting recovery and reducing next-day soreness, while preventing the long fasting period between dinner and breakfast from becoming a missed opportunity for muscle maintenance. Another practical tool is meal preparation and batch cooking. Setting aside 1 or 2 days a week to prepare high-protein meals or ingredients like boiled eggs, grilled chicken, cooked beans, or yogurt parfaits ensures that nutritious, muscle-friendly options are always available. This reduces reliance on processed, low-protein convenience foods that often dominate the modern diet. Keeping a few ready-to-eat protein sources on hand also makes it easier to meet daily intake goals without feeling overwhelmed by cooking multiple times a day. For those struggling with low appetite, a common issue after 60, liquid nutrition can help. Protein smoothies made with Greek yogurt, milk, or plant-based alternatives, fruits and nut butters provide a calorie and protein-dense option that's easy to consume, digest, and customize. Adding ingredients like oats, spinach, or flax seeds further boosts nutritional value without requiring large meal volumes, making smoothies ideal for individuals with reduced hunger cues or chewing difficulties. Consistency remains the most important factor. Muscle preservation and growth after 60 rely on small, repeated actions rather than occasional bursts of effort. A single protein-rich meal or workout session won't transform muscle health, but hundreds of them over months and years will. Tracking progress, whether through strength gains, energy levels, or body composition, helps maintain motivation and reinforces the connection between daily habits and long-term outcomes. Finally, approaching muscle health with a long-term mindset reframes the process from a chore into an investment in independence, vitality, and quality of life. Strong muscles reduce fall risk, maintain mobility, support metabolic health, and allow older adults to keep doing the activities they love, traveling, playing with grandchildren, or simply living without physical limitations. Each protein-rich meal, each resistance workout, and each night of quality sleep contributes to a future where aging does not mean surrendering strength or autonomy. By combining strategic nutrition, regular resistance exercise, supportive lifestyle habits, and practical meal planning, older adults can create a sustainable system for preserving muscle health. These simple yet powerful steps, grounded in decades of scientific research, offer a clear path toward not just living longer, but living stronger, healthier, and more resilient lives well beyond 60.